I get the glasses, the Blur Eyes pads. I can say it. I can say the forward.
This is another National Wildlife Refuge Minute. Crystal River National Wildlife Refuge in Florida is home to a myriad of species, but there's one in particular for which it's known: the West Indian manatee. Manatees inhabit these sheltered waters year-round, and Crystal River Refuge was created specifically for their protection. But manatees float right beneath the surface, making them very hard to see, especially from a moving boat. And deep cuts from boat propellers are one of their biggest threats. Luckily, a manatee rescue team is on call 24/7 to make sure that future generations will be able to enjoy these gentle giants. National wildlife refuges all around the country are doing their part to protect wildlife, with more than 500 refuges
Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind, wanting to start again? Well, you don't have to, because you are listening to the Tuesday Morning Buzz here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. Woo!
You're listening to the Morning Buzz.
To the Morning Buzz.
To the Morning Buzz.
The Morning Buzz on 90.3.
90.3.
90.3.
90.3 WMSC.
WMSC.
WMSC Upper Montclair.
Upper Montclair, New Jersey.
All right. I want a collective Yababooza. 3, 2, 1.
Yababooza!
And welcome to the
Slow.
Tuesday Morning Buzz. I'm already peaking levels at 7 in the morning.
Woo!
Welcome to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. This is the Tuesday Morning Buzz, third time in a minute. I'm your host, Kyle Pepitone, joined with my co-host, Jacob Goetz, newscaster, Aiden Ivers, segment host, Emily McCormack, and sportscaster, all of us.
Good morning.
We have a show for you today, as always, giving you updates about the war in Ukraine, updates following the tragic Sacramento shooting, updates on climate change. It's updates all over the place today. But before we have any of that, we have an update from our newscaster, Aiden Ivers. Aiden, take it away.
Thank you, Kyle, and good morning, everybody. My name is Aiden Ivers. Aiden Ivers coming at you live from 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, New Jersey, with the newscast. We just came off from a great weekend at WrestleMania. Head of the table Roman Reigns prevailed as undisputed WWE champion, and we are 2 days away from opening day at MLB. So we have a lot to look forward to this week, in my opinion. But before that, in national news, according to Denver.CBS Local, a 75-year-old Erie, Colorado Vietnam veteran, Ron Cardenas, who dropped out of high school to serve in the war in the 60s, received his high school diploma for his service this past weekend. In statewide news, according to NJ.com, New Jersey confirmed 754 new COVID cases, along with 2 new deaths on Monday. The state's 7-day range was lifted from 10% from just a month ago, but hospitalizations have fallen to an extreme low level. And in local news, according to Montclair Local, this past Thursday, nearly 300 people attended Out Montclair's Spring Fling event and fundraised $250,000 for Montclair Pride 2022, Montclair's first Pride Festival to take place June 11th. And for weather, this week, I think it's safe to say that the old man is gonna be snoring with the rainfall that we're gonna expect to come this week, unfortunately. But today, we have a step above midday with a high 56 and low 46 with cloudy skies, followed by a rainy Wednesday with a high 53, low 47, rain all day. And Thursday, unfortunately, opening day, we're going to have the same circumstances with a high 51 and a low 47 with possible thunderstorms in the afternoon. But on a positive note, we enter the weekend with a high 59 and a low 43 on Friday with partially cloudy skies. And on Saturday, we'll have a high 57 and a low 40. And Sunday, we'll have a high of 53 and 39. Both of those days being also under partially cloudy skies. So the Yankees have a 2 1/3 chance, if Thursday gets canceled, to crush the Boston Red Sox in the Bronx. But this is your hour 1 newscast here on 90.3 WMSC. Back to you, Kyle.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And now for the sportscast. But before we do that, by a show of hands, how many here are sports-centric people?
Baseball, sure.
That's what I thought. So what we're going to do now is we're all going to read the sportscast.
We've collectivized the sportscast.
What?
We've collectivized the sportscast. We did it, Carmen.
Thank you to Tanner for writing it. And we're going to try to translate it now, starting with me, going to Jake, passing it over to Emil, and then finally Aiden, and then back to me. Here we go. The Kansas Jayhawks are national champions. The Jayhawks have won their first national title since 2008, defeating the North Carolina Tar Heels by a score 72-69. North Carolina was up by 15 going into halftime, could not hold onto it though, and could not hit a 3 to tie the late game. Congratulations to Coach Bill Self and the entire University of Kansas.
We are 2 days away from opening day. In spring training yesterday, the Mets tied with the Astros 3-3, and the Yankees defeated the Phillies 5-2. Both teams will finish spring training today as the Mets take on Washington Nationals and Yankees take on the Tigers.
Those same Tigers made a big splash last night, acquiring outfielder Austin Meadows from the Tampa Bay Rays in exchange for infielder Isaac Paredes, and a pick.
Word, Emo. And the Rangers and Devils meet again on the fourth and final time this season. The Rangers took on the first two at the Garden, with the Devils winning 7-4.
I totally understood what that meant, Aiden. The Islanders travel to Dallas to take on the Stars tonight at 8:30.
The New Orleans Saints and Philadelphia Eagles made a draft pick yesterday. Here are the details. Here's Emily with the details.
Eagles receive 2022 18th, 101st and 237th picks, as well as a 2023 first round pick and a 2024 second round pick. Saints received 2022 16th, 19th, and 194th picks in the year's draft.
And the Nets travel to Houston to take on the Rockets tonight as they prep for their play-in game. The Nets learned yesterday that recently acquired point guard Ben Simmons is out for rest of the regular season / play-in round. But seriously, Austin Meadows to the Tigers? Think about that. I know you guys don't listen to baseball, but
You're talking to the wrong people.
That's a
Aiden.
crazy trade. In my
That
opinion.
is crazy. Absolutely insane.
I was given all the numbers. It's discrimination.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This has
Joking.
been your 7 a.m. sports update. And now we're moving on to the regular show with our first story. According to apnews.com, we have updates from the Ukraine and Russia war. Russia has now faced accusations of war crimes yesterday following the Russian pullout from the outskirts of Kyiv. What would seem as a sign of pullback of troops reveal the atrocities Russia has done in Ukraine. Streets, buildings, and yards were filled with corpses of what appeared to be civilians, many of them evidently killed at close range. The grisly images of battered or burned bodies left out in the open or hastily buried led to calls for tougher sanctions against Kremlin, especially a cutoff of fuel imports from Russia. Germany and France reacted by expelling dozens of Russian diplomats, suggesting they were spies, and U.S. President Joe Biden said Russian leader Vladimir Putin should be tried for his war crimes. Quote, "This guy is brutal, and what's going on in Bucha is outrageous," end quote. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky left the capital of Ukraine for his first reported trip since the war began nearly 6 weeks ago. He went to see for himself what he called the air quotes genocide and air quotes war crimes in Bucha. In his nightly video address, Zelensky pledged that Ukraine would work with the European Union and the International Criminal Court to identify Russian fighters involved in any atrocities. Quote, "The time will come when every Russian will learn the whole truth about who among their fellow citizens killed, who gave the orders, and who turned a blind eye to the murders," end quote.
Yeah. And those are the people that need to know, the people of Russia.
Yeah. It's like you said, like it's everyone needs to know. I mean, everyone has seen what's going on and what has happened, especially with these images.
Yeah.
But now it's like you said, the people of Russia
they're not seeing it.
Yeah,
right
they need
now.
to specifically know, hey, this could be your neighbor who did this or something like that.
This is what your government is doing.
Exactly, that too. Because like we saw, I forget how many weeks ago it was when we talked about when like this almost first started. It was like maybe 2 weeks after that, but you brought up the good point of how the Russian economy is just tanked.
I think it's recovered slightly since then.
Right. But not any thanks to this.
No. It's awful. And I really do hope there is some mechanism of accountability.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out.
My biggest question is, and just from a confusion standpoint, is how would they go about like trying to identify anyone who took part in that?
Yeah, I'd assume I know the Times used satellite imagery to identify things like that. And also it is a good question. I'm sure that's a question on a lot of people's minds right now. I know like from what we've been seeing so far, generally, it doesn't seem like the Russian military is super well organized. Right. So any documents regarding like, the names of troops employed in a certain area, who knows if those things are even who knows if they bothered with stuff like that.
That is very true.
But I'd say, yeah, look at the documentation, look at any satellite or, on the ground images. I'm sure like images are being captured there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
That,
that's true.
we're just not seeing because they're just too brutal.
That is true. Yeah,
I think it's
I
also-
don't
oh,
know
sorry.
if we would even be able to show that. What's
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I was gonna say I think it's good that other countries are realizing the impacts of
Yeah,
what's going on between Russia and Ukraine. Like as it said, like Germany and France.
I want to actually bring that one up.
That
Do you
is very
think-
interesting.
Do you think that was extreme for what they did, Germany and France, to expel Russian diplomats?
I think that is, I don't know. I have mixed feelings. On one hand, I
Yeah.
definitely it's definitely understandable,
Right.
but
It's like it's suggested that they're spies. Like they don't
Calling
know
them
if they are.
Yeah,
Spies.
I don't know. I could be a little off, but it reminds me a lot of Cold War era America.
well,
Yeah,
it just
the
seems
Red Scare.
odd. Like, they're Russian diplomats, right? Like,
Right.
it's not
Mm.
like they're presenting you
No.
as something other than what they are, right? Like, they're not like being like, "Hi, I'm, Mr. American,"
So you're
It's-
saying like they're Russian.
Yeah,
Why would
like
you?
it's you're not a spy if you're saying, "Hi, this is who I am and this is why I'm here."
Mhm.
That's
That's
not what
true.
that is. But I don't know. I'd have to, look more into the story and what they're referring to exactly.
Yeah, because it's very likely that they're just people who live in Germany or France and
Mhm.
have literally no bearing on what's happening, and they just got. Is deported the right word?
No, it's like they just
Or expelled? Expelled is the word.
expelled.
to use.
Yeah, expelled.
Well, it wouldn't just be random like people, right? It'd be like Russian diplomats, people who are
Yeah.
appointed to this position.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
It's just an unfortunate situation all around.
Yeah,
Mm,
Really unfortunate.
that's yeah.
The best thing you could do is just hope that, like it said, hope that these people realize the impacts that they're doing worldwide and to their neighbors and neighboring countries, and hopefully it just ends soon. It's all these atrocities that we constantly keep hearing about.
Yeah. Jake, do you want to bring us to the next story?
I suppose I can. Updates following the tragic Sacramento shooting. Sacramento police arrested a man yesterday that is possibly connected to the shooting that killed 6 people and wounded a dozen others in the heart of California's capital. Multiple shooters fired more than 100 rapid-fire rounds as the people ran around attempting to avoid the deadly assault. Police said that they booked 26-year-old Dondre Martin as a, quote, related suspect on charges of assault with a deadly weapon and being a convict carrying a loaded gun. Detectives and SWAT team members found 1 handgun during the searches of 3 area homes. The arrest came as the 3 women and 3 men killed were identified in the shooting that occurred around 2 a.m. 2 days ago. According to AP News, the victims of this terrorist attack included a father of 4, a young woman who wanted to be a social worker, a man described as the life of the party, and a woman who lived on the streets nearby and was looking for housing. Sacramento County Coroner identified the woman killed as Jontayu Alexander, 21, Melinda Davis, 57, Yamile Martinez, 21. The 3 men were Sergio Harris, 38, Joshua Hoy Lucchesi, 32, and Devizia Turner, 29.
And I think this is another example of sort of like compared to the last story, it's more of a domestic issue. Like we keep hearing about these things
Yeah.
way too often, these tragedies.
Yeah, and I do think that it's something I think that we kind of need to take from that as we kind of see news like this is the kind of like how necessary it is for people to be actively engaged
Right.
with the politics. Like there's a reason that Russia keeps information from their citizens.
And I think
Right.
they also
Right.
have like a single media channel, right?
Yeah, no, there's like state controlled media is a thing for a reason.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
so people don't act. It's so people don't take it upon themselves to shape the institutions to make the world better.
Right.
So I don't know, sometimes I kind of hear that kind of approach to this horrible news like this as just nothing more than just horrible news that you kind of gotta wait to just not hear. You know, it's something, and I'm not going to act like I'm just some sort of very productive activist, because I'm not yet. But yeah, I do think that we should keep that in mind when we listen to these stories, because there is stuff that we can do about this, believe it or not.
Right.
There is measures that we can take to avoid these types of things happening. But we have to advocate for them, if you want to.
Very true. Yeah, it is horrible to hear. And just the descriptions of some of the people that were unfortunately killed.
Yeah. And I want to take a thank you to Isaiah for writing out their names so we can hear them.
Yeah.
And focusing the story on them, because that is how these sorts of things should be covered.
That is true. It is about the people as well as the event. Like, just they're more than just numbers. They deserve to have their names read. So thank you, Isaiah, for that. But it is very sad to read about. And while we digest it a little, we're going to head to a short break, and then we're going to come back with more news.
You want to feel important.
You want to be part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things.
You want to feel
And welcome back to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. This is the Tuesday Morning Buzz. I'm your host, Scott Pepitone, co-host Jacob Goetz, newscaster Aiden Ivers, segment host Emily McCormack, sportscaster all of us.
Yes.
Moving on to our next.
Yeah. I didn't know I'd be judged so harshly for that one. Continue.
Anyway, without interruption this time.
Apologies.
No mic.
Oh, Wow.
Our next story today from AP News: the Earth is crying for help.
Me too.
A group of top climate scientists said yesterday that temperatures on Earth will shoot past a key danger point unless greenhouse gas emissions fall faster than countries have committed to. They also warned us of the consequences of inaction, but also noting a hopeful sign of progress. UN Secretary Antonio Gutierrez said the report by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change revealed, quote, a litany of broken climate promises, end quote, by governments and corporations, accusing them of stalking global warming by clinging to harmful fossil fuels. Quote, it is a file of shame, cataloging the empty pledges that put us firmly on track toward the unlivable world, end quote. Governments agreed in the 2015 Paris Accord to keep global warming well below 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit this century, ideally no more than 2.7 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet temperatures have increased by over 2 degrees Fahrenheit since pre-industrial times, resulting in measurable increases in disasters such as flash floods, extreme heat, more intense hurricanes, and long-burning wildfires, putting humans' lives in danger and costing governments hundreds of billions of dollars to confront. Its authors highlight a myriad of ways in which the world can be brought back to 2 degrees Celsius, or even with great effort, return to 1.5 degrees Celsius, after that threshold has been passed. This could require measures such as the removal of CO2 from the atmosphere with natural or artificial means, but also potentially risky technologies such as pumping aerosols into the sky to reflect sunlight. Among the solutions recommended are a rapid shift away from fossil fuels toward renewable energy, such as increasingly cheap solar and wind power, the electrification of transport, less meat consumption, more efficient use of resources, and massive financial support for poor countries unable to pay for such measures without help. Now, here's something, Jake, I believe you brought this up last week, that electric cars are not much better than regular cars.
Not
right?
really. I think generally this is like, I think the issue regarding like the electric cars is kind of a microcosm of, I think, the larger issue about how people approach climate change. Because I think there's a lot of people who want to focus on, still maintaining this idea of constant growth. Like, all right, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We're just going to do it better. And that's not how this is going to work. That can't be how it works. Like you can make greener cars, but like you're still using.
It's still a car.
Yeah, you're still making cars. You're still just producing a massive amount. And you're still using those resources in burning, and just taking up so much. So I think really, like, I don't know. That's kind of what gets me about those market-based solutions like that. I think they've got to be a part of it to some degree, but just a part of it.
Yeah, not the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, they did also mention other things, solar and wind power, less meat consumption, which makes sense if you think about it, but surprised me when I read it. And then more efficient use of resources and massive financial support, which is that last one is good too, because like there's some, like, although they say ever increasingly cheap solar and wind power, there's still some countries that would really struggle to afford that.
Last week, Assemblyman Kogan came to speak at the presentation hall, and something that he focused on when he was talking, like he was talking about his role in policy as an assemblyman in the New Jersey, like in his office, and he said that every day he works on bipartisan legislature that would hopefully be in the favor of the citizens of where he works, for New Jersey. So hopefully that can tie into what we're talking about here, and hopefully lawmakers can find ways to stop this warming from happening. Because the last bullet said all possible policies that could be put into place to help that decrease.
I have to say, I don't expect any bipartisan legislation on the national level to get out about climate change. Republicans just aren't going to do it. It's not going to happen. They need to be bypassed.
Yeah, that's fair. But with that being said, Jake, do you want to give us the next story?
For sure. Plane crashes in New Jersey. A small plane crashed into the front yard of a house on South Main Street in Manville Monday afternoon, not far from Central Jersey Regional Airport, just over the border in Hillsborough. The 2006 Mooney M20M plane was destined for the Hillsborough Airfield after taking off from Piedmont Triad International Airport in Greensboro, North Carolina at 10:42 a.m. Manville Police Lieutenant John Crater said that there were no casualties on the scene, and the pilot was the sole occupant of the plane and had been taken to a local hospital for treatment. He said the pilot, who he did not identify, got himself out of the plane and was across the street when authorities arrived. The pilot had a head injury, but it did not appear to be life-threatening, the police said. Primarily, Crater said that it appears that the pilot was landing, had a problem and tried to abort the landing and clipped a tree, which spun the craft and caused it to crash. It sparked a small fire, which firefighters extinguished in a short amount of time. Shortly before 5 p.m., the plane was hoisted onto a flatbed tow vehicle.
Okay, this is something straight out of a nightmare for me, I imagine.
Mhm.
You know,
Well,
because
here's the thing. I don't remember when it was, but a little bit ago, we covered a similar story. Not as bad, but it was about a plane that had to land in the middle of the street, like emergency landing.
Mhm.
And in both these stories, my mind, when I heard plane, thought, oh, big Boeing 747, which for the other stories, like, how do you land a Boeing in the middle of a street?
Yeah,
And then it's be like,
that'd be a
oh,
rough one.
smaller planes exist.
Yeah.
Same exact thing happened with this story, but Isaiah is showing us the damaged plane right now
Yeah.
through the Zoom.
It's pretty
We
messed
are live
up.
on Facebook for anyone listening over radio, and you can see the damage. The cockpit seems pretty intact, but that front,
Yeah,
is
it's really just the front that
destroyed.
is just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the good thing is there's nobody got killed.
Yeah.
yes,
Thankfully.
no.
And the person who crashed in the
Miraculously.
plane wasn't.
Yeah,
he
it was
said
only.
wasn't
It
really
said it was
hurt.
only just the pilot, right?
Yeah, and he didn't really. He said just the head injury, and
Yeah.
he was like, the rest of him was fine. But
Yeah.
well, that would have been like a little startling if it happened in front of my house.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the people
Those
who you know
poor things.
live
Yeah.
there.
Gosh,
gosh.
could you imagine a plane crashes? Like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
dude. Like, I don't know.
That would be really scary.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird when somebody uses your driveway to turn around. Imagine somebody putting a plane there.
Somebody crashes a plane in your backyard.
Oh gosh.
Could you imagine the yard work you'd have to do? After
Have
Oh
you
that?
my
ever-
goodness.
Have you ever had those like incredibly loud helicopters fly over your house? Not even like
Yeah,
not even
yeah,
like
that's
regular
true.
ones.
Oh
just
yeah,
like,
sorry, that's mine. I actually have a helipad in my backyard.
like, oh my gosh. Please. Has to be over my house out
Well,
of all places to fly.
Wait, there's good news, right? It didn't actually crash into the house. It was
No,
just the
it was
yard.
in the
No.
backyard.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Oh,
At least
Wow.
so it's not perfect news to read.
Could
but
you imagine, like, because that's so crazy to me. Like, you crash a plane in a middle of the neighborhood, and you're like, "Oh man, is everyone okay?" And everyone's just like, "Yes,
that
everything's
is
fine."
amazing that everyone is okay, and I'm
Yeah,
very
no,
happy to hear that.
I'm grateful. That's
This
incredible.
could have
But
been-
it's just so insane.
Yeah,
Like,
this could have
what are
been
the odds?
So many degrees worse.
And thankfully
Yeah.
it wasn't. Thankfully it wasn't.
Yeah.
Mm.
So a little bit of good news to wrap up our news part of the first hour. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we have a pre-recorded interview with Evan Wilner, producer of Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max on ESPN and ESPN Radio. Stay tuned for that. Here is Windows by Frankie Cosmos.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Morning Buzz here on WMSC 90.3 Upper Montclair. And today we have a very special guest all the way from the land of ESPN, producer of ESPN Radio, Evan Wilner. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing today? Long day?
I'm good. Just finishing up after producing our morning show and getting ready for tomorrow's show.
Awesome. So jumping right into it, I'm going to start. During your time at Hofstra University, how did that prepare you for your professional career in broadcast media?
Yeah, it was a huge help. I went to Hofstra thinking I was going to be the next, play-by-play voice, be on air, host a talk show in a market somewhere. And when I got to Hofstra, I did a little bit of the on-air stuff, but I also got some producing experience. And I realized that that's what I liked even more. I realized that I'm really good at problem solving quickly, which it takes to do, to be a producer. You need to have those skills. And I realized that I was really good at multitasking, which goes a long way when you're working behind the scenes. So all of those skills. And then, I produced a weekly show during the week, an all sports show dedicated to the football conference that Hofstra was in back when they had a football team. And then I also produced a weekly, just full Hofstra sports recap show on the weekends. And doing both of those shows made me realize what the proper career path for me was.
Awesome. So for those shows, what was your preparation process? And does that have any similarities to how you prepare today?
Yeah, very similar actually to how we prepare for the show today, in that the biggest thing actually is when I was at Hofstra, we had a team of, 6 or 7 people who were on air / producers, associate producers. And it taught me how to work in like a team environment. It taught me how to assign things to different people on the staff to help come together and produce a show. And ultimately, my responsibility at that time was to make sure the best product went on the air. And that's still my responsibility today in my role at ESPN, is taking everybody's ideas from talent to other producers on my staff and, what are the best ideas? How can we take somebody's idea and flush it out to make it the best on-air product? And that's stuff that I did back at Hofstra, that, working with a team of 6 to 7 APs, PAs, producers, whatever the titles are. And the same thing I'm doing today at ESPN.
Awesome. So, after you graduated from Hofstra, what was that transition period like from the college environment to the professional world?
Yeah, I was very lucky. I had a really good internship at Sirius Satellite Radio at the time. It was before they even merged with XM. And I got to work in a professional environment, running a board for a morning show on Sirius NFL Radio at the time, now Sirius XM NFL Radio. I got experience, producing best ofs and just being around in a professional environment. And when I graduated, I was lucky enough that Sirius had a part-time opening doing the exact same thing I did as an intern, just getting paid. So I feel like my transition was a lot different than most people, because I just kept doing the same thing I was doing as an intern. I just got paid for it.
Awesome. So what inspired you to really get involved into sports media? Did you know that was going to be the career choice from a kid, or is that something that evolved over time?
No, I knew pretty early on. I have people in my family. My dad is a sports writer. My uncle was a producer for Westwood One Radio, and he was the play-by-play announcer for Manhattan College basketball. So it was from a very early age, being around my dad, being around my uncle, I knew this is exactly what I wanted to do. I would record, I know a lot of, young kids and people in the media. I've heard Kenny Albert tell this story as well. When you're young, you watch a game on TV and you immediately pick up a recorder and start recording the game into a microphone as you're watching it off the TV. And I was doing that probably when I was 5, 6 years old. So I knew pretty early on I wanted to do something in sports media, but it wasn't until college that I realized I wanted to be a producer. If you would have asked me when I was 10 or 11 years old, I would have told you my dream job was to be the play-by-play announcer for USC football. for whatever reason, that was just the answer I always gave. I always knew radio was something I wanted to do aside from TV. Now that I'm at ESPN, like TV has become a much bigger interest to me, but up until that point, I was always interested in radio and the audio medium and telling a story without the visual. But yeah, that came from a very early age. I would say around 5 or 6 years old is my first memory of when I wanted to get into this business.
So you mentioned some of your family members that inspired you to be a part of sports media. So I'm going to remove them from this question. You're not allowed to mention them.
Okay.
Who are some of your influences that you really looked up to in that realm of sports media?
Yeah, Ed Engels is the name that comes to mind. He was the professional resident at Hofstra. I knew him early on in my life. I had met him and connected with him, and he was the sports director for WCBS 880 for a long time. He had called the Super Bowl on the radio during his career, and he's the reason I went to Hofstra. I knew that being under his tutelage and having some guidance from him in the business would be the best thing for me. So he's one of the biggest influences I had. And then I've had some very good bosses and leaders that have taught me along the way. But I would say the biggest influence and why I'm here outside of my family members is Ed Engels for sure.
Interesting. So sports media, as soon as I've been alive, it's really gone through a transitional phase, like most things in media, because of internet and social media. So I'm wondering, how has the development of social apps and a lot of internet websites really changed how sports is covered?
Yeah, I actually couldn't imagine doing this without Twitter. So I guess like my first year of producing full time was at a local radio station in Hartford, Connecticut. And that was in 2008. And I think Twitter started like really becoming mainstream in 2009. And so I only have one real year of thinking about this industry without Twitter. And I was very young and this was very new to me. So removing that, I can't imagine doing this job that I do today without Twitter. It's where I rely on for a lot of the information we use on the show. When there's breaking news, I have a Twitter alert for Adam Schefter or Adrian Wojnarowski or Pete Thamel when it comes to college football and basketball. So as soon as there's breaking news, it's immediately on my phone. I don't have to wait to go to the fax machine and see that, a news wire is coming in from a fax machine. I don't have to, wonder, if, what was this exact quote? I can always go to Twitter and find the quote there. I'll say from today's show, we talked a lot about Carson Wentz and the comments from Jim Irsay, the owner of the Colts, saying that, they had to move on from Carson Wentz. And that I saw first on Twitter. It was trending on Twitter. And then I went and read the article on The Athletic, but the first place I saw it was Twitter. It's almost like a buffet of sports information, and you kind of pick and choose the ones that you like to use on your show. So I can't imagine what this would be like without, the concept of social media. I also tell a really funny story. So I've been producing morning radio for 11 years. And I would say the first 4 years of it, I had no idea who was awake during my show. I didn't want to wake people up. I didn't want to call someone at 7:30 in the morning if they weren't awake. And the way I started figuring out who my guests would be during the show. I'd be on Twitter and seeing who was tweeting, and I'd write it down, and I have a list of all these people who tweeted during the show. So I would know who was awake and who was available during the 7 to 10 a.m. time slot that I was producing at the time. So social media has been a huge influence in helping, gear content, but not only that, helping me build relationships by, seeing people tweet and tweeting back and, having conversations with people through that medium.
Absolutely. I think even for me, it's not really a sports related show. It's more just news in general. But I think social media is such a great tool to help you understand, obviously breaking news, but what people want to talk about and what is interesting for them. So I think it's a well-balanced machine, but there's also the negative aspects of social media where sometimes you'll read a headline and it will say Carson Wentz is traded to the Cincinnati Bengals somehow. And it's
Yeah.
always like this misleading thing. So how do you kind of combat, like, obviously the real news opposed to like the people trying to bait you and then click on their Twitter accounts and all that stuff?
Yeah, I always weigh the risk versus the reward. So, like if something's on Twitter, I will make sure that it's, there's a second source tweeting about it. The good thing at ESPN is that we have a lot of places where we can verify stuff like that. So that's why I have like the Twitter alerts for Schefter and Woj and those people. So that way, if there's a fake Schefter account tweeting something, if I haven't gotten the Twitter alert, I know that it's not a real account. Same thing, with Adrian Wojnarowski around the NBA trade deadline. If there's a fake trade out there, I know if I haven't gotten that Twitter alert, it's not real. And then if there's also like, just verifying things. Like I try to use my own sources as a producer to, verify something I see on Twitter. I'll reach out to one of our reporters and, I'm not afraid to be like, hey, I saw this on Twitter. You're not reporting it. What's your guidance here for covering this story? And that way, say it's like an Adam Schefter and I text him that, he'll get back to me and say, yeah, I'm going to confirm that in about 20 minutes. You guys would be good to report on that in the morning. Or, say it's during my show and this happens, I'll text Adam Schefter or I'll text, someone in our news desk and say, hey, this report's out there. I saw that we're not reporting it yet. What's the guidance here? An example I can use on that's not NFL is last summer when Simone Biles had withdrawn from the gymnastics competition and walked off in the middle of the competition. It was all over Twitter, but we as a company had not confirmed it through one of our reporters. So I remember making the call to our news desk and asking, is this okay to report on? Is this okay to discuss on air? And the answer I got was, yeah, we're about to send out a newswire on it, wait for the newswire, and then follow the newswire for guidance. And our newswires are electronic. Like I talked about the fax machine like from years ago. Ours are electronic. They come through a program we have called ENPS. So that way, when there's a newswire that goes out, it pops up right on my screen in the middle of the show. I get an alert and I see it. So like when it comes to social media, I try to weigh the risk versus the reward. And my show is not a news show. It's an opinion show. It's a guest show. It's a caller-driven show. So I don't feel we need to be first on anything. I've told my host that. Our job isn't to be first. It's to be right and then give an opinion off of the right information. Because once you try to be first, that's when you get into mistakes. And there are news shows like SportsCenter is a news show and Get Up is more of a news show. And those shows, it's on them to get that information out as quickly as possible. For us, it's not. It's more of let's get the information right, because the last thing you want to do is lose your credibility by talking about a story that's not actually accurate.
You definitely have to make sure that you're, sharing the right information for your viewers, because as soon as you say something incorrect that is not even close to being correct, you're going to lose your audience. And
or you'll hurt a relationship. I'll tell a story. Like a big learning lesson for me was, I won't tell the story exactly, but we on the show talked about a quote from an NFL head coach. We actually played the sound, and I didn't think the sound was taken out of context. I had read the entire quote, but we talked about it on the air, and then we posted a video of us talking about it on social media, and the team saw the clip and asked us to take it down because we had, talked about something that they felt was taken out of context. And I had we had a meeting with the team, and we decided in the end of the day to take the clip down because we understood where we may have gone wrong. And that's some of the stuff that I try to shy away from. It's not just the viewers. Like I know that this business is all about relationships, and it's important to keep those relationships happy. So like, that's also part of weighing the risk versus the reward of talking about something that you just see a headline on Twitter. Like that's what happened. I took full responsibility for it because I saw the headline on Twitter. I found the sound, but I didn't use the full soundbite. And so we ended up having to take the video down, and that was the end of it. Like we haven't heard anything about it since that day. But that's also something that you have to worry about, not just your viewers, but also the relationships in this business.
Of course. And then, very briefly, you are producer of a morning show. So, in general terms, what do you think would what generally creates like a good morning show?
For sports, I think it's making sure you're talking about the most relevant topics of the day. People wake up, they want to know what happened the night before, and they want information and they want to be entertained. And so for our show, and the other thing that's important with the morning show, more than any other show, is pace. Our show is very fast paced. We try to move from topic to topic to topic. We try to, what we call is features and benchmarks that we have, where we'll, play a game and we'll, throw out, buy or sell, or, is this statement, do you guys think this player is real or not real to win the Super Bowl with their current team, stuff like that. So we try to have a lot of pace elements in our morning show, but also the biggest thing is talking about the headlines of the day, talking about the games from the night before, and talking about the NFL. Like you talked about the influence that social media can have on letting you know what the audience wants to talk about. We put a poll up every day on our show saying, asking the audience, what do you want us to talk about at 9:45 in our last segment of the day? And then we say, vote now. And I would say today was today was an NBA topic that they want us to talk about. But I would say, 9 times out of 10, it's an NFL topic that gets the most votes, and that's what people want us to talk about. So I would say that's the biggest thing with a morning show is just be entertaining, have good pace, have high energy. It's hard at 6 a.m. to have high energy, but we have an ability to do it on a consistent basis. And I think that and all the topics that we're talking about, the strong opinions, leads to a good show.
Honestly, you can feel it when you listen to the show as well. It's just the energy's there, and then the segments pacing is, I think, one of the best when I listen to like anything in the morning, is just because you guys are so quick with it, and you're on and you're on and you're on. So I appreciate that about the show. But you brought it up a little bit. The NFL is certainly king, especially in the United States, where even in the offseason, like just right now, middle of the offseason, and it's still dominating every single headline. Do you ever think that any sport has the ability to catch up to the NFL at this point, or do you think they've kind of just solidified themselves?
No, I don't. I think the NBA got close a couple of years ago when the NFL ratings were lower, the interest was less. But I think the NFL is only getting more exciting and only gaining more interest for a couple of reasons. One, it's only once a week during the season, and so the supply and the demand, people look forward to being able to watch the games once a week. The pace of the game is incredibly entertaining. The level of play at the quarterback position is higher than it's ever been in the league. We have very young, exciting quarterbacks that play the position much different than we've ever had. And along those lines, teams are willing to trade quarterbacks like it's nothing. Like we've never seen this in the NFL, where teams are willing to eat cap space and trade their quarterback to another team because they think they can move on and rebuild their franchise quicker. We saw it with Matt Ryan. We saw it with Russell Wilson. We saw it with Carson Wentz now 2 years in a row. And so I think because the NFL has seen this QB carousel the last 2 seasons, it's led to even more interest in the offseason than the league ever had. I mean, the week of the NCAA tournament starting, that was the first week of NFL free agency. And on our show, we talked, I would say 95% NFL, 4% NBA, and 1% college basketball for March Madness. So to me, stuff like that only signals that the NFL is only going to get stronger. It's only going to get more popular. You're seeing it with the amount of money these networks are, doling out for the rights. You're seeing it all around. So I think the NFL is going to continue to be king. I don't see any sport catching it.
Yeah, I think it's really a battle for second place at this point. But I'm interested to know, so the MLS is the United States Soccer League, and it's the biggest one that they have. And recently with teams like Atlanta and Charlotte, they've really started to garner, I think, more interest, especially with the fans that are in the stadiums. You ever see a day where like the MLS is, more covered on popular shows, or do you think that soccer is never really going to take off here?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know the answer to. I'm a soccer fan. I'll watch, the World Cup qualifiers. I'll watch international games. I'm a Tottenham supporter, so go Spurs. But I don't know because I don't think our best athletes are ever going to play soccer, and I think that's the problem that we have in this country when it comes to soccer. We've had it for years. It's getting better with Christian Pulisic and Gio Reyna and the young stars that we have playing overseas, playing in the best leagues. Serginho Dest playing for Barcelona. Like, I think that helps. But I think the problem that we're always going to have in this country when it comes to soccer is that the best players, the best athletes in this country play football, play basketball, and play baseball for that matter. And I think that's one of the issues that this country is always going to run into when it comes to soccer.
We're going to hit one final question. And, we are in the New York area, at least for Montclair State, and you're pretty close to New York yourself. The New York Jets, you're a huge fan.
I am.
We're going into the NFL draft. What do you think? Are you hopeful? Do you think the leaf has been turned here? Are we getting to the good part for the Jets? Please give me your opinions.
It's all going to come down to Zach Wilson. And I saw a lot of things at the end of last season that I liked about Zach Wilson. I think I saw a stat today that he and Aaron Rodgers are the only two quarterbacks over their last 5 games of the regular season who didn't throw an interception. So he made a lot of strides. He made a lot of growth last season. So I'm hopeful that the Jets will turn the corner. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs next year. The AFC is loaded, but I do think they're on the right track. I do think Joe Douglas is doing a really good job in the draft, in free agency. And so we'll see. I think the one thing they should do is they should try to package some of their lesser picks for a wide receiver like an AJ Brown or a DK Metcalf. And then, that way they can use that 4th and 10th pick to go draft their biggest needs, which are defensive end. And then they can get Kayvon Thibodeau or cornerback with Sauce Gardner from Cincinnati. So hopefully they're turning a corner, but it's all going to come down to the quarterback because it's a quarterback league. He showed a lot of signs last year, but can he get to that, Joe Burrow level? That's still to be seen.
It's definitely going to be a hard journey in the AFC. And Jets executives, you heard our man, Evan. Listen to him, do what he says. But we cannot thank you enough, Evan Wilner, for coming on to the show. We appreciate your wise words, and we look forward to seeing what else you have in the future.
Thanks, Isaiah. Appreciate you having me.
And welcome back to Tuesday Morning Buzz. This is 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair. Good thing I said that because it totally forgot to put it through the system. Anyway, how's everyone doing? I'm your host, Kyle Pepitone, co-host, Jacob Goetz, newscaster, Aiden Ivers, segment host, Emily McCormack, and the actual sportscaster today, Tanner. Hi, everybody. How is everyone surviving the morning?
I'm doing
Is everyone enjoying the morning?
Yes.
I
Yes.
said I'm doing great. I don't know if that went through.
No, that went through this time. Sorry.
So how are you doing, Kyle?
Yeah.
I was up until a second ago.
You was what?
Doing good. Well, no, I'm sorry. I was doing well.
Doing
well.
Doing good. I think it's all right to
Grammatics,
do
grammatics
good.
is important.
I
Doing-
reject modern grammaticians.
yeah.
I think it's I don't know. Words should be said as they're felt, and I feel that I'm doing good.
In other words,
Um,
English is weird.
Yeah.
If you haven't guessed by our wackiness, it's hour 2 of the Morning Buzz.
Yeah.
We've got the fun stuff coming up. We got news about movies. We still doing? Yes, we have. Am I in the wrong? We did that last week too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's the superior segment, so we're gonna keep
Yeah,
natural selection.
it's
on
definitely better
segments.
than Ask the Buzz. So we got movies. We got Am I in the Wrong? More movies. Pizza.
movies.
Ooh.
Violent Bunnies.
Yeah.
Well, buddies.
Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
We
I guess
go
Mamma Mia is
again.
a movie, so we covered that.
We got music about. We got news about Jesus. So,
Wow, nothing's been new with that guy for a while.
but we have 3 segments we have to do before that: newscast, sportscast, tunescast. We'll go in that order. Aiden, take it away.
Thank you, Kyle, and good morning, everybody. My name is Aiden Ivers, coming at you live from 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair with the Hour 2 newscast. Week before Easter break, 2 days before opening day. Let's get into it right now. In national news, according to Denver.cbs Local, a 75-year-old Erie, Colorado Vietnam veteran, Ron Cardenas, who dropped out of high school to serve in the war in the 60s, received his high school diploma for his service this past weekend. In statewide news, according to NJ.com, New Jersey confirmed 754 new COVID cases, along with 2 new deaths on Monday. The state's 7-day range was lifted from 10% from just a month ago, but hospitalizations have fallen to an extremely low level. And in local news, according to Montclair Local, this past Thursday, nearly 300 people attended Out Montclair's Spring Fling event and fundraised $250,000 for Montclair Pride 2022, Montclair's first Pride Festival to take place on June 11th. And on weather, today is a cloudy and a step above midday with a high 56 and low 46 with cloudy skies, followed by a rainy Wednesday with a high of 53 and low 47. And Thursday, unfortunately, having the same circumstances. So opening day might be affected by that with a high 51 and a low 47 with possible thunderstorms in the afternoon. And we enter the weekend in positive light with a high 59 and a low 43 on Friday with partially cloudy skies. And Saturday, we'll have a high 57 and a low 40. And Sunday, we'll have a high 53 and a low 39. Both of those days being under partially cloudy skies. This has been your Hour 2 newscast here, 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, along with the weathercast. Back to you, Kyle.
Thank you. And Tanner, take it away.
The Kansas Jayhawks are national champions. The Jayhawks have won their first national title since 2008, defeating the North Carolina Tar Heels by a score of 72-69. North Carolina was up 16 with 2 minutes left in the first, but could not hold on to it and could not hit a 3 to tie the game late. Congratulations to Coach Bill Self and the entire University of Kansas. We're 2 days away from opening day. In spring training yesterday, the Mets tied the Astros 3-3 and the Yankees defeated the Phillies 5-2. Both teams will finish spring training today as the Mets take on the Washington Nationals and the Yankees take on the Detroit Tigers. Those same Tigers made a big splash yesterday, acquiring outfielder Austin Meadows from the Tampa Bay Rays in exchange for infielder Isaac Paredes and a pick. The Rangers and Devils meet again for the 4th and final time this season. The Rangers took the first 2 at the Garden, and the Devils won the last one 7-4. The Islanders travel to Dallas to take on the Stars tonight at 8:30. The New Orleans Saints and Philadelphia Eagles made a draft pick trade yesterday, and here are the details. The Eagles receive a 2022 18th pick, the 101st overall pick, the 237th pick in this year's draft, and 2023 first round pick and a 2024 second round pick. The Saints receive a 2022 16th overall, 19th overall, and 194th overall picks in this year's draft. The Nets travel to Houston to take on the Rockets tonight as they prepped for their play-in game. The Nets learned yesterday that recently acquired point guard Ben Simmons is out for the rest of the season / the play-in round. Back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And moving directly into our Tunes on Tuesday segment with the one and only Emily Music McCormack. Emily, take it away.
Hi. This week's episode features 2 interviews, one with UK artist Jazz Karis, interviewed by Amina Ali, and the other with K3 Sisters Band, interviewed by JT Bethea. Jazz Karis speaks about her 2 recent singles, Tonight and Games We Played, both songs that tell stories about looking for love. Karis says people connect to her songs because she writes from the heart, often focusing on her feelings of pain. She mentions that she wrote a song about coming out of a relationship even before it ended, so she basically predicted her relationship would end via music. Whack. Karis shares the challenges of creating original sounds in her sounds in her soul and R&B genre, as well as how she enjoys writing songs as stories, including stories surrounding real-life characters where Karis dramatizes her own life events. Jazz Karis reveals that some music videos are soon to come, and she has some upcoming music to look forward to. Our second interview is with K3 Sisters Band, a group of 3 sisters who are part of an entirely musical family. The girls' parents brought them on stage at the age of 4, and they officially created their band back in 2009. The sisters are 4th-generation musicians, and they discuss balancing their musical careers with having time for family. They touch on their personal journeys and feelings on performing in front of large audiences, and their musical messages being on overcoming loneliness and finding a sense of community. The sisters talk about their songwriting process and their collaborative efforts and dedication to never lose a single song idea by writing and recording down all of their ideas. They are actually featured in the Smithsonian's Girlhood It's Complicated exhibit back in 2020, and the band talks about wanting to be inspirations to others and sharing their stories to provide advice to future musicians. They are currently working on their 13th album, so we can expect more from them sometime in the near future. New music from Jazz Karis, K3 Sisters Band, C+, Messine, Veronica Everhart, Algonzo, and more on Tunes on Tuesday, which airs at 2 and 5 p.m. You could listen in for new music and good vibes. Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, my vibes are pretty good right now.
Oh, I'm glad.
Thanks to you.
My topic for this week is 2 questions in this room and the other room. Does anyone listen to bands that are composed of siblings? And do you think you'd be able to survive being in a band with your siblings?
No.
I can't think of a single band composed of siblings.
Yeah, I'm trying
that
to
I
think.
might listen to.
The first one that comes to mind is My Chemical Romance, Jared Way and Mikey Way.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that,
just made that connection.
No way. Ha!
Yes.
I didn't mean that.
Why did I not connect those dots?
Well,
I'm
technically, like Duran Duran, like half of the people in that band, their last name is Taylor, but none of them are related. So I guess I can't blame you. But yeah, no, they're bros.
Yeah. I think that's the only one I can really think of.
I know 2.
Do you want to take it?
Wait, no, Aiden.
2 Canadian golden bands. Nickelback and 3 Days Grace.
Oh,
Yeah.
I knew 3 Days Grace because
Nickelback, Mike and Chad Kroger.
Mike and Chad, yeah. See, here's the thing. I only know bands. I barely know band members, so I could listen to all bands composed of siblings, and I would have no idea.
Yeah, I don't really care that much about the band members.
The one, I forget the name of the band that I
know.
listen to. That's like 3 siblings.
Yeah.
It's something like Palais Royal.
PayPal royalties.
PayPal.
Anyway, no, Palais Royale is 3 bros, but so is AJR. 3 bros.
Them I do not listen to.
That's lame.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, not listening to AJR is incredibly based.
The Jackson 5.
yeah,
Jackson 5.
I
Yeah,
was about to
that's a good
say
one.
that.
Highly
Who's
superior.
that? That was sarcasm.
Good. I think we all had like a bad moment.
Actually, no. I will admit that I've only recently connected the dots that Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson were related.
Oh, it's okay.
Connecting a lot of dots today.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly dumb.
No, I'm proud of you.
Isaiah gave me a woo. W-I-W. I don't know what that means.
You mean wow?
It's almost motionless, but not quite. But the siblings thing. What do you guys?
No.
do? Oh, okay.
I could not.
Yeah, no,
Sorry,
that's always
Allie.
a tough thing. Both me and my brother play guitar, and like every once in a while, people are like, you should start a band, and I always like, no, no, we're not
Absolutely
doing
not.
that. That would be bad, and I not like it.
Sorry.
I can't even. I don't think like I could.
What would happen if both you and your brother started like rival bands?
Oh, well, first of all,
Whoa.
mine would be better.
Is your
It'd
brother
also
listening?
probably be. I hope.
Hi, Dick's brother.
It would also be probably pretty different genres. Because he'd probably go for something a bit more traditional.
Okay.
Okay.
The Beach Boys have brothers in it as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would love to be in a band with Liam. That would be amazing.
Yes.
Oh, I think mine probably the Bee Gees, great band, siblings.
Oh.
I believe all of them are,
I assume you're looking up bands composed of siblings.
Yes.
Okay.
because there's some that I thought I knew and then they're not on here. So I don't know what band I was thinking of, but I'm not sure.
I'm thinking of
Kings
another
of
band.
Leon.
that-
Oh,
my God,
Oasis.
Kings of Leon.
the what?
What?
Oh, Oasis.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I forgot. Kings of Leon, isn't it because their last name is King and their father's name is Leon?
Is that really
When
it?
Leon,
I think that's a thing.
when King be when I don't know.
Like I think the father's name is like Leon King or something. Because I remember I have a list of band names and I wrote McCormack's of Frank for that reason.
like wouldn't like Leon be king of them though?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, AC/DC.
That's
Not
what
so much now,
Yeah.
but like originally.
Mhm.
Who else?
I'm thinking of a band, but I can't because they recently kicked one of them out.
They kicked out one of
They
the
kicked out
siblings.
the siblings.
How do you do that?
It's complicated.
Somebody does something cringe.
Yeah,
you gotta
did-
kick him
I'm
out.
gonna-
Yeah, he did something.
That's
really
gonna make
cringe.
Thanksgiving
There's
awkward.
no- Honestly,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, gotta do what you gotta do for the music.
That was
gonna-
one
We
of
are
the
thankful
things,
for
though.
all the things we were given. Yeah, like that band I was a part of.
Well, okay.
Well, you
um,
shouldn't have
the
been
turkey?
cringe, homie.
To my
You gotta understand.
to my knowledge, he was deserving of being removed from the
Okay,
band.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things at first when we kind of found out like, oh, this guy should be removed. I don't know too many details, so I won't share too many.
Do you know what band it is?
Pierce the Veil.
Haha.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember people were like, well, what's gonna happen because it's the brother of the lead singer. And so it's like, oh, is
It's
Vic
like,
still gonna
LOL,
stay in the
I don't care.
band? And to my knowledge, Vic is still in the band.
Oh, that's
And
By the
so-
way-
Gonna
yeah.
make things real
Mhm.
awkward.
Sorry, you go.
I looked up Kings of Leon. They are brothers, but their last names aren't King. It's
Oh.
it's Followill.
My
Well,
apologies.
follow Will of
Fo-
Leon doesn't
follow-
sound
Will.
good.
Yeah. so-
McCormack's of Frank. Me and Liam, our band. I feel like Liam and I, we would have a weird band name like
Reverse
Pufferfish
retrograde.
name, but it would be pronounced like oh.
Pufferfish,
Oh, wow,
but
what?
with a V.
I mean, me-
I think my bones.
me and my family, we every time we see something, we hear something funny, we always say that would be a good band name. One
Yeah.
of ours that we came up with, we were driving and we saw it was around Christmas time, and we saw we saw it in an inflatable Jesus, so that's one of them.
Not-
Inflatable
That is-
Jesus.
Oh my
That's a decent
goodness.
one, yeah,
When
inflatable
I see
Jesus.
inflatable Jesus out there somewhere, I'll know where it started.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll take that one.
Biggest
I have a
selling
whole list.
debut record. I don't know. Walk on Water by Inflatable Jesus.
Oh,
Gee, Jesus.
whoa. I like it. I'm looking at my list of band names and I don't think they're worth sharing, except for recent Depressing Bean and Spatulas of Death.
Oh, I remember that one.
I can't read half of these anyway.
I wish I wrote down mine.
You should start. It's never too late.
Yeah.
Some of them are pure genius.
I do
and
actually
so
have
much comedy.
So I tried starting a band. None of that picked up. I tried starting a band back in freshman year, and we got as far as kind of coming up with a band name. We could barely get past that, and I have them here somewhere. Hi, welcome to the Morning Buzz. We're just reading off band names now.
Well, that was the one problem with my band in high school, is that like we wanted to make actual music, but we're like, nah, we can't do anything until we have a name.
Yeah,
And then
no.
we never ever agreed on
You
the
almost
name.
gotta like stop, like just stop. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Call yourself literally the first thing that comes to your mind. If you're thinking like, oh no, we have to have this a super cool name. So
What about
That was the thing,
like-
but then we started giving up on it.
Yeah,
We're like,
just
we're
like-
just gonna throw out random stuff and see what
like,
sticks.
just
And I want
stop
something to
it.
stick.
Stop like egotizing it, you know, just play music, mosh, have
yeah.
a good time.
Hey guys, we're Depressing Bean.
All right.
Honestly,
I don't mind it.
It's not bad.
I thought Kyle was shushing us.
Would y'all
Yeah.
like to hear some of the highlights?
Yes.
Sure.
I'm
Yes.
scared.
Phoenix Flytrap.
Okay.
Oh man,
All right.
that's a rough one.
Yeah. Hey, that actually wasn't my idea, surprisingly.
Oh, nice.
UFO Outlaws.
Ugh.
I don't even know what that one says.
That's outstanding.
Yeah. None of these are great.
There's also-
Memento Mori. Brightmare.
I'm pretty sure that
Right there.
This one says
Brightmare.
Brightmare/Lightmare.
I like
I'll give you an idea of
These-
who came up with that one.
Not you.
No, it was me.
Ah.
These all sound like radio Disney bands.
This one just says nameless.
Oh
There
yeah,
you
that's
go,
my
Emo.
band.
Strikeout. The Phoenix Initiative. Born from Tears.
Ugh.
Are you okay?
No, that was my idea.
Oh, naturally.
Oh, followed up by Written in Fears.
Is that just a song?
I
That's
guess.
just Tears for
Born in
Fears.
tears, written in
Born,
fears.
born from Tears, Written in Fears, Broken and Unknown. There are 3 band names.
Oh.
I literally just wrote a chorus.
That's so funny. Remember that.
This has been Tunes on Tuesday.
No
You still have more?
segment.
Oh, sorry.
Tunes on Tuesdays at 2.
Did everybody answer the second question about?
Oh yeah, what would your band be called?
Oh, don't tell me what to do.
Like, with
Knowing me and my sister, we would probably come up with some band name that I can't say on air.
yeah.
Knowing me and my sister, it'd be a emo situation. Here's the thing.
You
Me
know
and
what?
my sister have the tendency to disagree on everything, almost to a cosmically unnatural sense.
Oh,
So
that's fun.
something
the
going
band
off of that.
actually, now that I think about it, it would probably be we talked about bad movies last week.
Yes.
It would probably be something from one of those movies. Probably the Velocipastors or a very possible name. There's this superhero movie that my sister found called Creating Rem Lazar. That might be one of them. There might be a name like that. One of the weirdest movies I ever watched. I don't want to get too into movies. but
Nah,
it-
save that for after the break.
it would probably be something from one of the weird movies that we have watched.
All right, well, hold on to that idea. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we got some movie news.
Ew.
You're tuned into WMSC Upper Montclair 90.3 FM.
dog. That's right. Marvel is back with another movie called Morbius, and currently it is getting absolutely obliterated online. Sony's Morbius, starring Jared Leto, led the global box office this weekend with an $84 million debut. Meanwhile, Paramount's Sonic the Hedgehog 2 got off to a fast $25.5 million start from its first 31 offshore markets. Warner Brothers / DC also has something to put a smile on their face with, as the Batman topped $700 million worldwide. Audiences have destroyed Morbius, as it's currently sitting at a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes, Sonic at 64%, and Batman at an 85%.
Yeah, what an absolutely dire weekend to go to the movies. Like Sonic and Morbius. But there's also cool stuff coming out. I think like X is there, and there's also the Everything Everywhere All at Once, which looks really cool.
The first Sonic was pretty good. I liked it.
I didn't see it,
Never
but
saw it.
I'm assuming you're wrong.
Well, Tanner, you said you like to watch a lot of bad movies.
Yeah, but I enjoyed-
kind of destroyed your credibility.
But I enjoyed
Sonic's
But I
credibility.
enjoyed watching Sonic, and I thought it was a good movie.
That's awesome.
I don't know. All I know is that first design was an animator's nightmare.
Yeah, and they redid it. I
Never
think.
did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably better than Morbius, because Jared Leto, if Morbius is as bad as they say it is, might be in the worst DC and the worst Marvel movie. That should be
the design for Jared Leto is horrible.
That should be. He should win an Oscar for that.
No, they're called raspberries.
He should win an Oscar because he somehow. I know the Razzies are the bad for bad movies, but he should win an Oscar.
Whoa!
Because he's in the worst DC movie and the worst Marvel and the worst Marvel
That's so
movie.
funny. It's true.
So,
I'm not even in the worst ones though, so good for him.
Wow, they really
they changed the Sonic design.
They dragged Matt Smith into Morbius. I didn't know that.
They did?
What a thing.
Oh, poor dude.
Dude went from being the best doctor to that.
Ooh, debatable.
No, it's not.
I don't know.
Actually, no, that's very debatable, and also probably a bad opinion. It's been a while since I've seen that show.
No. See, 11 storylines were very good, but I don't know. 10 had that charisma.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I just like his face, man.
We're talking about Doctor Who, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Who?
Aha.
There's Sonic.
It's almost like we have a sound effect of that.
That.
My eye.
Thank you. No, I mean between the two movies, I think they changed the design a little bit.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Well, the first one they redid the design for the movie.
Yeah.
Like that's not the design in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the finalized design that they actually put into the movie, I think is different between the two movies.
Okay. It's probably not a big difference though.
Also, who looked at that first design and said, "This is good"?
I'm very curious.
I want to know. I want to know who said human teeth on the hedgehog. Yes. Anyway, I'm going to stick. So sorry, guys. I'm going to stick to movies and then we'll go right back in the wrong because Michael Bay has some things to say about Transformers.
Uh-oh.
So from IndieWire.com. Remember when every summer we had a new Transformers movie, whether it was Mark Wahlberg, Mark Wahlberg or Shia LaBeouf, the iconic franchise seems to always make its way to the big screen. The franchise, based on Hasbro's toys, with a multi-billion dollar success, with director Michael Bay directing the first 5 films and serving as producer for the spin-offs Bumblebee and Transformers Rise of the Beast, which is the 7th film slated for a 2023 release.
Gosh, I can't believe they made so much of those.
Oh, yeah, neither can Michael Bay. Because Bay revealed that he probably shouldn't have made that many. Not only that, but he went on to say it was one of the most... Not only that, but he went on to say that one of the most famous directors in the world told him to stop making them as well. While promoting the new film Ambulance, Bay admitted that Transformers executive producer Steven Spielberg originally told him to walk away once the trilogy was completed. Quote, "I made too many of them," Steven Spielberg said. "Just stop at 3. And I did. I stopped. but the studio begged me for a fourth. And then that made $1 billion too. And then I said, I'm going to stop there. And they begged me again. I should have stopped, but they were fun to do.
Never forget, if you play the
End
game
quote.
too hard, the game's gonna play you.
Whoa.
Yeah. I forget when the Transformers movies started tanking, because
I guess
the fourth one.
It's miraculous.
I guess
that all of
we
them didn't. But
I guess we know the answer of why does Michael Bay why does Michael Bay keep making bad movies?
oh yeah,
They make money.
'Cause people like them for some reason.
Yeah.
Explosions.
Boom.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's giving some people jobs, I guess.
Yo,
Yeah.
fun
Yeah.
fact, there's a really if you're interested in like films and maybe film theory, there is a really good web series out there called The Whole Plate, which if you remember is a reference to the part of the first movie where he eats the whole plate of donuts in Transformers. But
okay.
it's a really good intro to film theory, but it focuses on like Transformers,
Interesting.
and it's really good.
Cool.
That actually sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
Isaiah is giving us the box office range. So
Yeah.
Bumblebee from 2018. That can't be right.
Whoa.
Made $467,998,645. $467,998,645 in the box office. That being the lowest of the Transformers, and then Dark of the Moon made $1,123,794,079 in 2011 from the box office. That was the highest.
Wow.
Those years don't seem right. That
Am I
can't
the
be
only one
right.
who's
Please
never
I
seen a
feel
Transformers
old.
movie?
Bumblebee's disturbing.
What?
Am I the only one who's never seen a Transformers movie?
I haven't either.
I have not caught up with any of them.
I don't think I've like sat down and watched one. I know I've
No.
seen lots of clips and like it's been on TV a couple times, but like I don't think I've ever like
No.
I-
sat down and watched one.
I cannot name all of them. I know it's Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, something, Dark of the Moon. Oh, no. Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction, Last Night.
I'm not sure.
Why do I know that? This is not something I should be proud of. Hey, who wants to do In the Wrong now?
Okay.
I'm done.
Cool.
Michael Bay is in the wrong
Yes.
for making
Is he or is it the studio?
both.
That's discussion for
Oh,
another
this is a
time.
lot.
Okay.
All right. Who wants to take the first one?
Can I do it?
Sure.
Okay, here we go. I, a female 31 years old, have been with my husband, male 31 years old, for 10 years. We live together for most of that time, and we have a child and a dog together. This particular issue started a few months ago when he brought a new truck. The night before, he had picked up 1 hour drive. I asked him to take the dog to go to the bathroom. He refused, saying the dog is mine and therefore my responsibility and not his. Technically, the dog is an ESA for me. And when we got her, we agreed that I would do the majority of the care for her. This has held true, and this was the first time in over 2 weeks I had asked him to do any of the caretaking for her. I told him that if he couldn't do something as simple as take the dog out to go potty, quote, for me, I wouldn't be spending my day off driving him to get his truck. The next morning, he asked me to drive him, and I told him no, reminding him of our argument the night before. He ended up Ubering there, which cost $100+. A few weeks ago, I asked him for his help in picking up my mattress, as my vehicle is a small car. He refused unless I contribute $70 a month toward his truck payment. He reasoned that A, since I'm benefiting from the truck, I should be helping to pay for it, and B, I didn't drive him to pick up the truck, so he didn't want to use it to help me. We had a pretty big fight about this, and I argued that as his wife, I should have access to his resources, obviously within reason, without having to contribute to that specific resource financially. I eventually apologized for not taking him to pick up the truck, and he agreed that he would help me with things like this in the future. A few days later, he helped me deliver a desk I was selling about 5 minutes away. After the fact, he asked for half of the money I had earned from selling the desk. I refused because, again, I feel that his truck is a shared resource and that he's my husband. not a contacted delivery driver. He seemed annoyed, but this is didn't push it. Today, I asked him for his help picking up a pull-out couch for our guest room. He said no. When I asked him why, he said, because I don't like to help you. He then later explained, you won't pay for a part of the truck payment and you didn't give me some money for your desk. So I don't really want to use my truck to help you. I said, okay, and walked away. I'm really confused and unsure here. I mean, obviously, I feel like it's fair that he would use his truck to help me every once in a while. Just like I use my resources to help him when I can. To me, that's part of being in a committed relationship with someone, and how our relationship has operated up until this ongoing issue with the truck. But am I in the wrong?
No.
It's odd.
Yes and no.
I mean, really, I feel like it's not a question of who's in the wrong. It's who needs divorce, and the question is them.
Yeah,
both of them.
The answer is them. It doesn't matter. Just get a divorce.
Both of them are unreasonably petty.
Yeah,
it
Yes.
seems like.
Well, I don't know.
She said, "Oh, if you won't help me take the dog out, I'm not going to take you to get the truck."
This all started with taking the dog out.
Yeah,
Take the dog out, bro.
Yeah.
I wonder what kind of truck he got.
he started it, but her not driving him to get the truck and losing $100 of, I want to say, shared financial resources, but I don't think that's the case.
Mhm.
Was unbelievably petty in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then it just devolved into who
Yeah.
can be more petty.
Yeah, no, like I gotta point to what Isaiah just said in the chat. Like it just sounds like they kind of don't love each other.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm in a
like-
committed relationship. I don't like helping you. though.
Yeah, I don't like helping you. I don't want to share anything with you. Like, I don't know. Like that's all there is to it. Because like there wouldn't be anything odd about their behavior if they just weren't in a committed relationship.
Yeah.
Like that's just not how you're like. I feel like this just wouldn't happen if you just had a general shared interest and mutual support system.
Right.
How long have they been together?
10 years. Jeez Louise.
That's ridiculous.
Maybe the moral of the story: if you don't need to, don't get a truck.
No, moral of the story is clearly just take the dog out, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that difficult unless it's
The only reason might be if it's like 10 below outside.
yeah.
Yeah.
If it's
yeah.
10 below and it's snowing and it's a blizzard. But if then the dog doesn't have to go out. I mean, it might, but it has
You can use wee-wee pads indoors, too.
Can we say that on there?
I feel like I don't know. Like their actual problems started like they probably just stopped being in love with each other like long before the thing with the dog actually happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the thing with the dog was just kind of like started this norm of just like I don't really like want to sacrifice anything. I don't really want to share anything with you.
I wonder if like this might be like a relationship that was like constantly on and off because neither of them were like, yeah, let's call this off for good. Like they were like might
They
be
had a
like,
kid together. Like
oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Where does it say that?
The
At the
first
top.
sentence,
First
we have a
sentence.
child and a dog.
Where's the child in all of this?
yeah.
Who's
Ooh.
taking care of the
Who's
child?
taking
It's like
the child?
the child is going to be Mom, you have to drive him to pick up the truck.
Dude, how do
Why
you,
is the
like-
child God?
It's like the almighty infant.
Yeah, like
Uh,
I don't know how old this child is.
yeah, it doesn't say anything about that. Considering it seems to be not like in the picture.
You have to give Dad money for the desk.
All right. There's not much discussion here. I think
Yeah,
it's just a petty relationship. All right.
get a divorce.
Green one. Who wants it?
I'll do it.
Okay. Go ahead, Jake.
I'm 17 years old and moved in with my sister after my parents kicked me out for coming out. They said I'll be here temporarily until I get back to quote unquote normal, which I don't think I will. But anyways, so I moved in with my sister and her husband about a month ago. FYI, she does everything around the house. I started helping here and there, as well as looking after a 2-year-old niece, and now she's 6 months pregnant. Brother-in-law does nothing but because he's the breadwinner, as he claims, but in my opinion, he's taken it a bit too far. E.g., he'd tell her to start his laundry once he takes off his clothes, put dinner on the table once he's home, get the shower ready, and so on. They fight a lot because my sister is exhausted and burnt out. I usually put my headphones on and mind my own business, but 2 nights ago there was a lot of commotion. Once
Once he came home, I think.
Once he came home, so I went to see what the issue was. Turns out my brother-in-law was complaining about dinner and my sister was too exhausted to get up. I mean, the dinner was already cooked, but he wanted her to put it out for him on the table. I told my sister I'd do it, but instead of using the kitchen utensils, I used my niece's toy utensils like toy cup, toy plate, toy fork, and knife, and a tiny napkin. I put food on the toy plate and the drink in the toy cup while brother-in-law was in the shower. He came out into the kitchen and sat down and stared at the plate for a few seconds. He then looked at me and asked what the HE double hockey stick this was and whether I was joking. I told him if he wanted to act like a helpless child, then he might as well get treated one. He began yelling and my sister came inside. He then threw the napkin and stormed off upon saying that I disrespected him and that he'll let my parents know what I did. My sister saw what I'd done and started laughing. I went inside my room, but the argument didn't stop. Now he's expecting an apology from me for meddling in his marriage and pulling this bad stunt on him. I could be in the wrong for this. For I was just so mad for my sister and also sick and tired of being sick and tired of the nightly fighting over dinner.
This person is not in the wrong.
That's hilarious.
This is awesome.
No, based.
I don't know. Pretty courageous thing to do considering you're living in this person's house. And
Exactly.
I don't know. Sometimes those financial incentives can be kind of really tricky when like it's like this person's terrible, but also like if he is like paying the mortgage on the home, it's like you feel kind of constrained by that. But
well, here's the thing: he's paying the mortgage for the sister, not him.
Yeah.
So he can kind of do whatever he wants. I'm not saying he should, but I think it was justified in this
get
situation.
kicked out for that, like you know.
Yeah.
And maybe
then
But
he'd have
here's the
nowhere to go
thing.
but back to his homophobic parents.
True, but also here's the thing: you made me dinner, but I want it on the table.
I mean,
No,
come on.
absolutely
Seriously?
not.
No.
Yeah,
Get
that's
over
weird.
yourself.
That's
No.
really weird.
I want to imagine this guy. He's expecting this dinner on this massive plate, and he comes down, and his dinner is you just have like the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse staring right back at him.
Yeah.
And when he said,
Oh, if he
He
wants to
threw
go
the-
even further, he replaces the chair with the niece's high chair.
Yes.
that would have been great.
Put a bib on him.
Takes his own medicine.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh my goodness. Like, how do you
That's just like
what's wrong with people? Like, how do you actually think this is okay for me to yell at my wife to literally move dinner from counter to table?
oh.
Like
Actually,
I don't
assume
know.
he made the plate, so I'm assuming it was
feel
like on
like-
the stove. Still,
I don't know. Sometimes I think of those like wait, is this gonna be too much of a hot take?
Well,
Go ahead, we'll find out.
Sometimes I feel like some people just kind of go through the pipeline of life, and they might be like married and have kids and like have a job, but they're still basically children,
Oh, yeah,
You're right. No,
that's
you're right.
fair.
You're right.
like,
Yeah.
and that's the vibe I get from this dude.
My
Like,
thing
I
is,
don't know.
dude, you're not that important. Trust me.
No. No, you're not.
You are insignificant in
You're
the
some-
grand scheme of things.
you're some dude in it. You're some dude whose probably biggest time of fame is in a Reddit post. Chill out.
You're right.
Oh.
So chill. In a Reddit post being read by college kids on the radio. So chill out.
It's 15 minutes of infamy. All right, we've got one more. Any takers?
Can I read it again? Or somebody else?
Uh,
want to?
I could do it.
I can do it.
Okay,
yeah,
10,
let's
you go.
have someone new.
10, you go.
We are in the process of moving into a new home. The house is more spacious than the old one, but it has limited rooms. It only has 3. My wife and I have 3 daughters, 16-year-old, 14-year-old, 12-year-old, and 1 son, 10-year-old. The problem that's been tearing the family apart right now is my 16-year-old daughter is refusing to share a room with her 2 sisters. She wants her 10-year-old brother's room. Her argument is that her brother is too young to have his own room and that she deserves more privacy and space since she's the eldest. Thing is, we as a family always give the boys their own room no matter what age while the girls share a room together. This method has proven to be working because girls naturally share while boys don't, and they fight a lot. My daughter threw a rage fit and got my wife involved. My wife called me unreasonable for thinking it fair to make the 3 girls share one room while our son gets an entire room for himself, and he's the youngest. So he's the one with the least. What? He's the one with the least privacy. I told her.
Need for it, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But we'll
Yeah.
get to that.
I told her that it's been like this for years, and just because we're moving into a new home doesn't mean things have to change. To be honest, part of me is thinking that my 16-year-old daughter is doing this simply because she's against the idea of moving in the first place and is looking for excuses to not move into the new home. My wife argued that moving our 12-year-old daughter with our 10-year-old son is the best compromise, but my son wouldn't accept this, and I already know that. All I'm looking for is everyone to be happy and comfortable, and to my understanding, my daughter was fine with sharing a room with her sisters then. Why change her mind now? My wife still sided with her and said that I should be more careful because the girls are beginning to sense some sort of favoritism towards the son, which isn't true at all. But it's all about what we're used to and what is the norm of the family. They're both not speaking to me and are acting somewhat hostile towards me. Am I in the wrong? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Well, obviously, I was going to ask where you're going to put the kid, but no, 12-year-old. But so right now, they have 2 rooms, 3 girls, 1 boy. I'm assuming the 16-year-old wants a room all to herself.
Yeah. She wants the 10-year-old.
Now we're splitting into 3 rooms at least. Do they have the space for that?
No, they said there's only 3 rooms. But I don't.
Then it's
but,
just
but
sorry,
here's-
Miss 16-year-old can't be done.
Yeah.
Here's something that I was thinking when this happened. Say they had another child and it was a son. Does he get his own room? Because they said all the boys will get their own rooms, but all the girls have to share it.
That I didn't get.
Oh, that's odd.
Yeah.
That'd be really weird if that's the. If that's the
Here's
philosophy.
what I'm saying. If you have four children, I
First of
mean,
all,
I don't
calm
know.
Yeah, honestly.
But it says,
especially if you're not prepared to handle conflict.
Yeah.
it says this house is more spacious than the old one, but it has limited rooms. If you have four children, look for a house
that can accommodate
6
people.
That can
at
accommodate.
least.
Yeah, that can accommodate that. Because, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right. And it says it's a more spacious house, so it's not like maybe they're. I was thinking, oh, maybe they're hard on money, so they have to get this. So they have to get a smaller house, but it says it's more spacious, so they probably were able to afford a bigger house. Why? Just look for one that has five or 6 rooms. It's not that
I'm
hard.
reading it is a house, 3 bedrooms. It means most likely.
Yes.
Which I assume is 2 bedrooms, 1 master.
Yes.
Obviously, a master for the parents.
Yes.
Unless they're giving the 10-year-old the master bedroom, which then I can understand. But if my assumption of the house layout is correct, it physically cannot be done to make the 16-year-old happy.
Yeah.
Yes. But
honestly,
then it's also the parents are in the wrong for not maybe thinking that this could happen.
I admit,
and it's eventually
3 people sharing one room is a lot. Maybe knock it down to 2 per room.
Yeah.
It's eventually going to happen as well, where maybe the 14-year-old daughter is like, hey, I don't want to share a room with my sister anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
with
yeah.
the 12-year-old. And then that'll
And as of right now, the 12-year-old and the 10-year-old together is fine, but them growing up is going to be probably a
fine.
little awkward.
Yeah, it's
Maybe.
just it's
Like,
just
I don't know. As long as you got like a bathroom, that's fine.
I mean,
I guess.
I think this guy's in the wrong because he's acting like the daughter shouldn't be mad at him because it's the way things are done, which is never it's never really a good
Yeah.
argument for anything. He's acting as if this is if she's like betraying the family for doing this, which she's not. I could sense.
I can understand
if I had to share a room with two of my siblings and then my other sibling, no matter how old, had his own room.
If I had to share,
that's
yeah. If I had to share a room with two of my siblings, it'd be crazy because I only have one sibling.
I was waiting for that.
So, yeah, me too. But it doesn't seem. I could. He's just acting like it's like his wife and his daughter are being unreasonable because the daughter wants her own room.
Yeah, he's not completely wrong in the situation. He's wrong for his defense.
He's not even entertaining the idea of helping his own child.
Want to try that again?
I was off. He's not even entertaining the idea of helping his own child.
Yeah.
Like she's uncomfortable and like just please don't.
But I think the best compromise is like Isaiah said, 2 and 2.
Yeah.
I think the daughter, the 16-year-old, is in the wrong for saying, I don't want to share a room with my two sisters. Give me the 10-year-old room all to myself when we're already at limited rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone shares. No one's happy. That's how you know it's a good compromise.
Yeah. Because I don't think the best solution is throw the 10-year-old under the stairs, Harry Potter style. So, yeah.
Private ownership, man.
Yeah, and I said it
up.
before. I wonder if there's another son, would he have his own room? Because they said it in there. And also there's a part of it where he said it was about how all the daughters are more apt to share.
Yeah.
But the boy gets his own room because he's a boy. That's not a good excuse. That's not a good excuse.
Ridiculous. There's a little
He's
bit
not-
of wrong to go around everywhere.
He's not really in the wrong, but as you said, his defense towards it is totally he's not gonna get
Dislike.
he's not gonna get anyone
Not
on
based.
side.
Very cringe.
Gavel.
Next.
All right.
I declare you cringe.
We have 9 minutes.
Sentence to
4 stories.
2 bad memes.
What do you guys want? We have pizza, bunnies, Jesus, or gamer fuel.
I think pizza and gamer fuel go together.
Let's go pizza and Jesus.
Okay.
Pizza and
Pizza Jesus.
All right. Bloomberg.com. The Pizza Principle, a mainstream stay of New York economics for more than 4 decades, states that a slice of cheese pizza will always be the same as the price of the subway ride. No, not anymore. The rule is largely held due since the first conjecture in the New York Times in 1980, with an increase in prices trending to predict a matching hike in public transit fares.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Prices for plain slices are soaring above $3 throughout the city, along with the commodity of and labor costs. With the Metropolitan Transportation Authority freezing fares at $2.75. The gap between the price of riding downtown and satisfying late night hunger pangs is growing quickly. MTA fares have remained at $2.75 aforementionedly, while the typical cost of a plain size increased to $3.14.
My goodness. Pie.
I was just going to say that.
Hey.
The price of a slice may vary depending on which borough you live in. Manhattan will be $3.26, the Bronx $3.15, Queens $3.10, Staten Island $3.12, and Brooklyn the lowest at $3.06. How much money is too much for pizza?
Man, for one slice, $3 is pushing it.
Yeah.
It is.
$3
It
is like the limit. If you go into 4 and 5, that's no.
At the
I'm
stat
walking out.
before any of
Unless they're big. Sorry.
That's okay. Before any of the current events are happening, right? In Staten Island, the boardwalk, there's like a food market. There's like a food stand there. And a couple of summers ago, I wanted a cup of water, right? and that was $3. So I
Yeah.
can't imagine what the pizza there is now with this.
What were you at, a concert venue?
No, it's just a normal day. $3 for a little plastic cup of water. That's ridiculous.
Plastic cup?
Yeah,
Wow. Wait,
That's
that's
ridiculous.
actually like
Weak.
made.
that's so. I mean, the food was like okay. I mean, that was bad, but like
Yeah,
Better be.
a plastic cup
you're
of
probably
water.
not even getting good pizza.
It's like come on, but
Yeah.
yeah, no,
I hate it.
$3.
I dislike
$3
it.
for a slice. It must be a pretty gourmet oriented restaurant if that's the case. Not like
Although
normal.
I do have to say, never get $1 pizza slices, especially in California.
Oh well,
Why
just
is
don't
that?
buy pizza outside of New York and New Jersey.
Yeah, I made that mistake, and
Not even
I have a
Italy.
I have a story, but I probably cannot say it on air.
Ah, that is unfortunate.
So,
Because like $1 pizza, like in New York,
You'll
or
have to.
at least what used to be $1 pizza
Yeah,
was like
pretty good.
yeah. Not
You'll
just pretty
have
good,
to tune into
but-
the Buzz's Patreon
Yeah.
for counter story. That is a joke. We don't actually have
Yeah.
one. That is not a call to action. If it
Maybe
doesn't
one
exist,
day.
right?
Oh yeah.
Isaiah, we can't say that one. Yeah, no, this is absolutely ridiculous. Pizza should not be a slice of pizza should not be
No.
$3+
No.
I tried to find the average slice of pizza in Jersey, but I
Yeah,
couldn't come
it's a
up, I came
difficult
up
thing.
dry.
But yeah, I guess
I couldn't
of
find the
course,
sauce.
has to be considered. We're going through a lot of labor shortages. We're going through a lot of supply chain issues. And even in the Times today, they were talking about how Russia and Ukraine actually make up a lot of the world's wheat supply. So
Wheat?
yeah,
Oh, really?
yeah. So we're gonna see maybe shortages of bread
No,
across the
not
world.
the bread.
No, it's bad. It's bad. But
Well, in these times of hardship and unleavened bread, there's only one man who can save us.
oh no.
Jesus. But
Oh
hold
my
up.
God.
Jesus isn't coming back until he's paid.
Face.
According to The Guardian, during a recent 4-day live TV event entitled Victorython, evangelical pastor Jesse Duplantis claimed that people are not being generous enough to churches, which is why Jesus has not returned from the dead. Quote, I honestly believe this. The reason why Jesus hasn't, I'm sorry, let me do the voice. I honestly believe this. The reason why Jesus hasn't come is because people are not given the way God told them to give. When you understand this, you can speed up time. Amen. End quote. He continued to suggest that if people called the number at the bottom of the screen, quote, God the Father would say, Jesus, go get him, end quote. People online have been quick to criticize Duplantis, with one writing, can you believe this? How can people be so lost and not understand that you don't have to fund the lives of these pathetic people like these? Do not listen to these evil men. Another said, they are what is wrong with the world. This is what the Bible says to avoid, is ministers like these. Another tweeted, how is this legal? Saying viewers can speed up the return of Christ by donating should 100% count as false advertising.
Are these like the televangelists?
Televangelists, I don't believe are real evangelists.
Are they?
I didn't think that was a thing anymore.
Are they just like? Do they just give up and are just showing that they're just made to make money?
Pretty much. I think so.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. How do you even like? They're just trying. He just showed. You said Jesus will come back if you donate more money. If you give me money.
They're Jesus and God are up in heaven. They've got one of those fundraiser thermometers that's just like you color in how much money you raise. They're like almost there.
Do you want to buy some cookies for Jesus to come back?
They're sending down angel Girl Scouts.
Sell cookies.
Yeah.
Door to door.
If we want him to come back, we gotta pump these numbers. Come on.
Sir, do you want Jesus to come back?
Yes, Jesus, the famous capitalist.
That is I physically don't understand how.
How do you
I'm so glad. Like, unfortunately, we
seen-
live in a big world, and there are some people who are like, yes, amen to that. I'm glad people are like,
Exactly.
no.
If you could find,
What are you talking about?
There's great videos if you want to see funny things of televangelists failing. My cousin found this video where someone just put fart noises over after they give their speeches and stuff, and they just start farting. It's so funny. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, not great. Don't love
if
it.
you use
Not
if you
super-
use money,
Yeah.
you can't say that.
No.
And you can't say that and expect to
Not
that
get
is like
backlash.
the entire that's like the entire part. That's one of like the parts of the religion. Don't do this. Don't be
No.
greedy.
Yeah.
That's a part of
I'm like, I don't, this might not be true, so don't hold me to this, but I'm pretty sure, or I firmly believe most televangelists are not actually officially
Oh
ordained.
no.
Oh yeah.
No, they're not. No.
Oh no.
No, like they just. It's
One
all
of
just
the
saying stuff.
one of
you know?
one of the 7 deadly sins is greed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
Ugh.
what is this? This just makes me angry.
Oh yeah, it makes me angry too, and I gotta do
As
a
someone-
show after this.
As someone who I try to go to church every
Yeah.
week. This just makes me angry because like no one would ever actually say that.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
I don't know. I think there is this bit of a ideological like sort of obfuscation that gets kind of like, I don't know. No one kind of, I think you could use anything to justify anything.
That is true. But we will not
the-
ask for donations here on 90.3 WMSC, as we are a non-commercial station
Based.
bringing us to the end of the Morning Buzz. I have been your host, Kyle Pepitone, joined by my co-host, Jacob Goetz,
Yo.
newscaster, Aiden Ivers,
Hello.
sportscaster, Tanner Price, and the was here segment host, Emily McCormack. She had to step out for a little bit, but we will all be back next week with more news, more Reddit, and more why is this even happening? Yeah, sports too. Stay tuned.
Bye.
That's what I think that's for.